on divine possession because that's what he gave me. So, it all began literally with having my own quiet time, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do this week. And Brian Simmons is doing the Passion translation of the Bible. In the first book of the Bible he came out with was Song of Songs. It's called the most amazing song of all. And the Psalms just came out, right, which I ordered mine, so I can't wait to get it. I just can't wait because it's so amazing, just the translation the Lord's been giving him. He's devoted however long it takes to do the Word of God. That's quite an undertaking. And so I just began having my own quiet time this week, and I was reading this and just meditating on it, and that's where basically this passage, this message has come from. So Lord, I just pray that you would just help me to be able to bring forth your heart, what you would quicken to my heart, Lord, for tonight, for all of us. I speak to myself afresh what you were whispering to my heart, Lord, in various places you have me reading and studying and waiting upon you. I pray, Father, that what's on your heart, and only what's on your heart, will be brought forth tonight. And pray this in your powerful name. Amen. So that's, we're going to be looking at Song of Songs 8, but as I said, I'll be reading it for this, so it'll read very differently from what you have. You have a different version. And this is the bridegroom praying. This is Jesus, who's saying to the bride, "Who is this one? Look at her now." And we're just going to take it sort of verse by verse as he gave it to me. And so as I waited with him, it's like, who are you? Who are we? Who are we? He's asking this question. Who is this one? Look at her now. You know, we're in the final chapter of Song of Songs. She's been on this whole journey with the Lord. And now he's saying, who are you? Who are we? And basically, it's like, well, who are we? First and foremost, we're the ones he left heaven for. He became flesh and blood. He died for. He rose again for. And we are his passion, and we are his possession. That's what it's all about. And we are valued, and we are so valued that we are worth the Son of God's life. There's no higher value that could be placed on us. His seat in heaven was empty. It was vacant until he filled it again after he rose. And he filled it again when he sat on the throne that he vacated to come down and say, you are worth it. You are so valued. You are so loved. I believe when he sat in that throne, his eyes were ablaze with jealous love and passion and desire for each one of us. Because we are the why he came, and we are the why that he hung. And it's always important that we keep that as the foundation and a focus. We are what he focused on when he hung on the cross. I've taught many of this many, many times, but we always have to keep it before us. We are the bride. We are the promise of the Father. We are the reason why the Lamb that we sang about tonight sacrificed his life. You are, and we were, worth it. We were worth it when he hung, and we're worth it now. It doesn't matter what man may have said about you, or is even saying about you this day. All that matters is what heaven says about you, what Jesus says about you, and he says you're valued and you're worth every drop of his blood. That is the greatest weapon we use, the greatest truth we use when the enemy comes and tries to whisper in our ear, or when man doesn't understand us. it's really meditating on that. It's when we come into that place that we just let him come and strip off. When he touches us like this, it's where we let him take off any cloak of shame or any thought we have about ourselves or any whisper of the enemy's, any place of unworthiness or that we're less than or that we're passed over. It's in his presence that these things begin to strip off of us as we go deeper into this truth. Who are you? Who we are is who the Word says we are. And we are transformed by the Word and by his presence. Thus the importance of even the butterflies, because we flutter up into his presence. We go into his presence, and in that place there's transformation. And that transformation begins to go out into a region. It's a journey of becoming. Who is this one? Look at her now. What it's saying is she's been on this journey of becoming the bride. She was the young maiden who's becoming the bride. This one, which is also us, his promised bride. It says that she arises from her desert of difficulty. That's, have any of us, have you been in a desert of difficulty? We've all had, have we not all had our deserts of difficulty? For some, maybe it's been a year situation, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be an hour, whatever it may be, but we've all had our deserts of difficulty. Is there one person in this room that doesn't have a desert of difficulty? It's not the enemy. It's the Lord brings us through the desert. It's a journey. It's a journey. And so it says she's coming up and out and arising. And it says she's awakened by new love. And she's awakened by revelation. And she's awakened by fresh touches from the Lord. As we worshiped tonight, there were fresh touches of the Lord upon our hearts, upon our minds, upon our spirits, upon our souls. And he was continuing to awaken places in us. And what happens is, it says that she sees differently. Because what she sees now, instead of despising the desert, have you ever despised the desert? I have. It's like, I'm going to die in this desert. Exactly. That's what's supposed to take place. But she sees differently. Because what she sees is how she's been shaped. How she's been shaped in the trials. How she's been shaped in the wildernesses. And what it has literally been is the master warrior has been shaping her. The one, he is the rock who literally we're quarried from. I have a teaching on that I gave a while ago. The Lord's been sort of quickening it to me to pull it out and maybe I'll bring it again, because he's been talking to me a lot again about the master warrior and how he shapes us and how he chisels us. Day by day, there's a chisel here and a chisel there. And when I was waiting for it, which is why I asked for a steak, because I couldn't find mine, I began to hear a sound in the spirit as I was meditating on the Lord with this. And he began to show me how he chisels us each and every day, particularly in our desert season. And he said, Donna, do you know what that sound is? He said, it's the same sound that was heard at the cross. And he shapes us. And he chisels us into his likeness. And he said, can you hear the sound when the difficulties and the trials come? Can you hear the nail and the hammer? The chisel and the hammer. And what it is that's the Galatians 2:20 sound. I live, yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And the life that I now live, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. And he said to me, Donna, choose to live in this sound of a sacrificial, laid down life where nothing is too costly. So in the desert, this is what you hear. It's the Galatians 2:20 sound. It's the sound of the sacrifice of Christ. And he shapes us with his likeness. And what he he does is he says to us then, step deeper into awakening. Step ever deeper into my awakening. Because literally what it is, the enemy, it's the sound of life, not my own. And that surrender, as we were singing about tonight, is the sound of gladness, and it's the sound of happiness. It's this glad surrender. It's a happy surrender. Because we know we're being shaped and made into his likeness. And it's that song that we sing by Susie Wills. It's a new and living way by his blood. That's what he's doing. He's leading us on this path. Who is this coming out? She rises from her desert of difficulty. And what she's doing is she's on this path of this new and living way that's been made by his blood. And she's not staggering under self-pity. She's not staggering under worthlessness. She's not staggering under unbelief or false humility or unworthiness. She's not walking in a place of bondage anymore. She sees it what it is. Any place where we feel a bondage, a weight upon our shoulders. He showed me like this log, like the scene in the Passion, like the other criminals. They just walked with the log across. They didn't carry a cross like Christ. They had a log that was across their shoulders. And he showed me that in the spirit. And he said, when we walk with that, what it releases is a sound of dread. It's that sound of dread, and it's that song that, ooh, it's this dread. It's this song the Israelites would have sung when they were in captivity. Where? In the desert. And the Song of Songs says, no, we're loved and we're beautiful to him. And Jesus' response to our life is yes. And I invite you to live and walk under my yes. Live under my declarations of how beautiful you are and how amazing you are to me. And because it is always his kindness that leads to repentance. It's his amazing love that brings us into glad surrender. I mean, we were in a classroom today, taking a class, and the Lord just decides to interrupt it. Just comes in, just interrupts it with an angelic visitation, and people were just falling out of their chairs. He just decides to interrupt a class and says, here I am. It was like an upper room deal. And this is what he's looking for. He's looking for people who would break through. And the leader of that didn't say, I have my class to teach. It was like, whoa, go ahead, have your way. Do what you want to do here. And I'll tell you what, I was so grateful as I watched that because God comes in. And that's what he's looking for, is who's going to host his presence. That's what happened here last week. It was a beautiful, sweet presence here tonight. Very tangible presence, sweet presence of God. His peace is in this room tonight. Tonight he's come in his peace. He's come in with a quiet hush. Last week it was every man for himself. Everybody was crazy. It was wild. But today he came in with a hush of peace. And really bringing he was really, for me, all I could do is surrender my heart again and again. Lord, any place that's not lined up with you, that's where I put my head on my drum at one point. It was just, I take the posture of surrender. I don't want one thought, one thing, nothing that's not of you. I just want to please you with every bit of my life. So we arise from the deserts of difficulty. And it says that she's loving and leaning into her beloved. She's leaning into her beloved, not on. Wayne, come up for me. See, if I'm leaning on, I'm like leaning on Wayne. Okay, I'm leaning on him. But she, if I could, my brother-in-law, she leaned into. She literally became one with him. She leaned into him. Thank you. Does that make sense? It's really important we get that. She wasn't leaning upon him because she wasn't weak anymore. The weakness was gone. She wasn't staggering. She'd come to the place where she was never alone. She was leaning into him in glad surrender. I lean into you, and everything I am, I surrender, and I become one with you. She came out of that desert in oneness. In a oneness. She had entered into a union of the Spirit that was so deep. He became her passionate pursuit, and that's to be ours, because he's our destiny, he's our home, now and for all of eternity. And so what she was portraying is what it looks like when Jesus is our home, when he is everything. Because literally what he is, he's a banner that unfurls over around us of holy love. And when I was meditating on this, I saw this banner, his banner over his love. And I saw it just unfurling and coming around us. And he is that banner that unfurls around us. And it ever declares to all of creation who we are and whose we are. The choice is do we walk under that banner? When we see old war movies and they're walking under, the standards, particularly the old, the Roman soldiers and all of that, they would walk under the standards, or in Scotland, remember Braveheart, they all had the standards that they rode under. And so he is our standard. And so if we walk under that standard, we're walking under this banner of love. It's actually a place of safety. It's a place where we posture ourselves to hear what? I am my beloved and he is mine. I am my beloved and he is mine. And it's not a wish, it's a reality. It's not a Valentine's card that we throw away a month after we get it. It's a reality. And he's writing it on our hearts deeper and deeper. It's a journey where he says, I want you to come deeper and deeper and deeper into my side. And I want you to access my holy heart chambers, because as I've taught before, in his heart chambers is teeming with life, and its sounds, and its songs, and its colors, and it's the access, it's the secrets, and we access it by the blood of the Lamb. And this is what he said to me. He said, my pierced side, I'm going to read it, because I was like another revelation. My pierced side is the eternal doorway that's been opened. It's the heavenly portal of desire. It's an eternal doorway that was opened. And it's a heavenly portal of desire that we get to open into. We're invited into. And he invites us to come in and enter individually and corporately and wait there. Literally wait inside his heart's chamber. Because in there he puts a fresh rhythm and a fresh cadence and a fresh beat in our heart. And it's in that place that he begins to show us the secrets of his heart and literally the secrets of his desire for us. This is where we wait. This is where we meditate on the Lord. This is where we wait with him. This is where he reveals our true identity, who we really are in him. It says on, Brian Simmons was teaching, and I'm going to share a couple of things that Brian shared. He said on Zechariah 12:8, on that day the Lord will defend the people of Jerusalem, and the weakest among them will be as mighty as King David, and the royal descendants will be like God, like the angel of the Lord who goes before them. And he was talking about a company of us, and he talked about the Song of Songs, where it talks about the king says to the bride. 4 times it says this in Song of Songs. 4 times in chapter 4 and once in chapter 5. It says, you are my sister, my bride. And that word sister there doesn't mean sister, like Chippy's my sister. It means my equal. My equal. That's a whole different thing. That's a whole different revelation. You are my equal, my bride. See, it goes all the way back to Genesis, where we were put into the garden to rule and reign with him. He gave us dominion over everything. To rule and have dominion over everything. We're not saying we're God. are is, he's God. But he said, you're my equal. That's what he said, everything I do, you will do in greater. You're my equal. What it means is, you're my equal in glory, you're my equal in righteousness. It means that you can walk on water. It means if you reach the place of intimacy, you can walk through walls. People do that. Happens all the time. I'm not going to go there tonight. We are going to begin to look at some of those things, teachings I've had that I've been waiting for the timing of the Lord, of where we can go as a people of God. But we're called to be equally yoked partner to Jesus, and we're the perfect match for him. And what he also said was, as an equal partner, we're co-signer with the title deed of the universe. That's pretty unbelievable. Do you realize that that means your declarations, your signature is more powerful than the President of the United States or any king on the earth? It means what you sign trumps it. I say that with no dishonor or disrespect, it's the reality. See, we're waiting as a nation for a president to come in to save us. He doesn't even have the authority that we have been given. We're to support our president, we're to pray for him, but he's to run government issues of the earth realm. We have been given the assignment of dominion, of the spiritual environment, the spiritual authority that affects the leaders of government. Do you follow what I'm saying? That affects how they think. We have the ability to shift things in the spirit that brings transformation to how they vote on a bill. It's commanding things. As I said before, it's kingdom of God come, will of God be done. That's a commanding prayer as an equal, co-heir, an equal of God. And that is not arrogance. That's a son of God that hears. Okay? So, you tracking with that? That's really important that we get that, because it changes how we view ourselves. And the enemy doesn't want us to get that. Doesn't want us to get that. And he stated another statement, and then I'll move on. But this was a powerful statement. He said, don't take away from the blood of the Lamb by hiding behind the veil of weak, timid, insecure faith. Don't take away from the blood of the Lamb by hiding behind the veil of weak, timid, insecure faith. The righteous are as bold as the lions. Have been made righteous by what? The blood of the Lamb. Those that are his are not timid, we're not weak, we're not frail. We're strong and we're mighty. We have weaknesses. You follow what I'm saying? We have weak places, but we're not to be a weak people. We're to be a strong people in the strength of the Lord. I don't boast. Paul said he didn't boast on any strength of his own. He boasted on the strength of the Lord. And he said if he boasted on anything, he boasted on his weaknesses. But those weaknesses, you follow what I'm saying, he became strong in the strength of the Lord. It goes on to say in this passage, when I awakened you, as you were feasting upon me under the apple tree, I awakened your innermost being with the travail of birth as you longed for more of me. And so what are we? We're awakened to the truth of his love and desire, which causes us what? It brings us back to the place of losing our lives. It brings us back to the place of Galatians 2:20. And where do we lose our lives? For years, people tried to do it with religion. You know, they used to flagellate themselves, and some of the things they do, they'd have the stairs and they put glass on it and climb up it on their knees and have bloody knees to try and earn some place within they were valued. All that is a spirit of religion. It's religion. I've shared with you that when I was a nun, I slept on the floor of my bedroom because the religious spirit told me I was no longer worthy to sleep in my bed. Think about that. My mother didn't even know it. That's what was going on in my bedroom. The more I knelt and front of my little altar and did my 3-hour novena, and I'm not putting down the Catholic Church, I'm talking about my experience, or anybody that's a nun or a priest. I'm talking about my experience. For me, I got captured by a spirit of religion, and I just lived in shame and guilt. So when Jesus came and I found him, or he found me, and set me free from religion, and it's a journey. He seeks to purge us of any place of religion. Where did we lose that? We lose that in his embrace of love. We lose religion in his holy embrace. That's where we lose religion, where he whispers into our ear how beautiful we are, how much he loves us, how passionate he is, that we are his divine possession. We gladly drop everything that doesn't look like him, sound like him, feel like him. Because what it is, we've found a safety and a security in his eternal arms. And literally, he is our destiny. There's all kinds of talk about destiny. And we all do have destinies. But the real ultimate destiny, where every destiny will come forth from, is him. He is our destiny. When we are complete in him, when we find that place of his holy embrace, then we begin to really walk out our destinies. Because we're secure, we're walking in security. I know who I am, I know who it is. And it's a road of love. And therefore, every moment of every day is our destiny. It's like, well, if only this happens. When I retire, I'll fulfill my destiny. When I get married, I fulfill my destiny. Once my kids grow up, I'll fulfill my destiny. When this happens, I'll fulfill my destiny. When I relocate, I'll fulfill my destiny. And it's ever out there, just beyond our grasp. And that's not the way God has called us to live. He says, I'm your destiny. And every day you live in your destiny. And I lead you on a road of love. And I continue to unfold. And I give you favor. And if you'll see it, you are walking in destiny, ever deeper on a journey into the blueprint that I have for you. It's a whole different mindset. Instead of that elusive carrot that's always out there, like the rabbit used to be on the Greyhound track, and they'd all chase the rabbit. And if they got the rabbit, then sadly, because the dogs were killed, they never got that. It's bad enough they chase. I don't even talk about dog racing. It used to upset me and flip me out. Thank God they closed. They did close it down, right? That horrible place in Revere. Anyways, don't get me going with that. But this elusive thing where it's always out of reach. Can you see that? And it's like 5 million books on the 20 million steps of how you're going to get to your destiny. And it's like, I'm your destiny. You've already found it. Come deeper into me and I will unfold everything else. We're so busy trying to plan our lives and figure it out. He says, I'm your destiny. I'm it. Focus on me. Because when you have the favor of God, he will give you the favor of man, and he will open doors for you. He knows your address. He knows where we are. Yeah. And when we get anxious, we try to make our own plans. What happened with, what's his name? An Ishmael came forth instead of an Isaac. We know the consequences of that. Religion causes us to strive because religion is from the rod of the taskmaster, and it's always right here. More. Strive. More. Do something. Don't do something. You've got to be doing. God made us human beings. We are to be with him. And from that place of being with him, we will do. But we won't do with a rod on our neck. We will do as the shepherd, the gentle shepherd with the staff, who leads us on the path of life. Doesn't mean we won't have trials and tribulations. He didn't say that was going to be an easy walk. It's up mountains, down mountains, through deserts, through valleys, wilderness times, stormy times, turbulent seas, on and on it goes. But he leads us. It's very different. I want to read a few things from Donna, if I may. He's like one of my all-time favorite authors, and this is from Secrets of the Most Holy Place, and I'm not going to read all this. This is my own stuff because I was marking it and putting it into me. Just a couple of paragraphs here. He said this is about destiny can never be a destination. I loved this. It is certain God has dreamed many dreams for you. There are many adventures for you to go on with him. So destiny begs a redefinition in keeping with who we are in him and in keeping with his intention for us from the beginning. The destiny of those who call upon him is to be conformed to his image and likeness. He wants to shine through us for all the world to see his glory. I loved this. He wants the hungry to feed from our love. He wants the hungry to feed from our love. The lonely to be encouraged with our words. He will bless the poor and heal the sick as he works through simple folks like you and me. He will set the prisoner free and forgive iniquity. On and on it goes. Our destiny, I've already, is to live in the yes of God. It is there in his yes that we find ourselves going wherever he leads, doing whatever he wants us to do. We go from glory to glory as we respond in eager and faithful obedience to him. He changes us while we change the world. We go because he has dreamed a dream for us, and we go in response to the destiny that he has purposely and meticulously designed for us. And then lastly, in this realm you will discover that your success is not what you do, but in who you are. Let him live through you. Now there's the real definition of success. Who we are letting live through us. And for each one of us it's different. I don't work where Shelley works, but if she lets God live through her, she changes the atmosphere. I don't work where Steve works. You take the train every day, right? Every day he gets on that train. Jesus is on that train. I don't have the places of sphere of influence he has. But all he's responsible to do is let the Lord live through him. And he's walking out his destiny. We've made it way too complicated. I don't say that critically. It's much simpler than we've made it. And I'm all for simplicity, that simplicity of devotion. So it says, who is this leaning into her beloved? Again, what is it? It's the posture of our hearts. It's the leaning into him. Oh no, I'm just going to be strong. I'm just going to do my own thing. You know what I'm saying? And occasionally call on Jesus. I remember somebody said once, Jesus is not the cosmic bellboy for who we ring a bell and he comes in response. But often we can do that. We can walk through life. I pray that none of us are in this room. I don't believe one person in this room is. But there can be this casual Christianity. We just sort of live our lives and like, ding, 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 Jesus, come and will you do this? Ding, ding, ding. Oh, Jesus, I'm in a mess. Will you come and help me? Ding, 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 ding. Oh, Jesus, I need somebody. Oh, ding, 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 ding. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that way. This is the God of all creation. It's an honor to be his. So we lean into him. It's Mary at his feet pouring forth. It is the woman with the issue of blood who reached out and touched his hem. And what did she do? She pressed out, she reached out, and she touched holy compassion. She touched love. She touched mercy, and she touched holy power. She reached out. She leaned into. Mary leaned into as she poured. This was intimacy at a very high level. And so she touches the hem of his garment, and we know that the healing virtue of Jesus was released. So my question is, if somebody comes and they touch us, what do they receive? If they come and touch us, what do they receive? reality of it is, if we walk and set Jesus as our destiny, and that our everything is to be a carrier of his presence, when people come and touch us, there'll be healing. There'll be peace. They'll come into an atmosphere that's different and they'll know it. They'll want to be near you. You'll be at the water fountain at work and all of a sudden that person who's got to understand it, all of a sudden they're always at the water fountain with you. It's like, well, this person didn't used to drink with me every day or the coffee thing, but because they're sensing there's something about this person, there's something about Peter I just want to be around. I like being around Catherine, one of our advisors. She walks in a lot of peace. She walks in a lot of presence. I like to be around her. Yeah. And so, it's the very DNA of God. It's that Galatians 2:20. And we need to really go deeper. This is what the Lord said again. He said, Donna, you need to continue to go deeper into the reality that the first Adam is dead. And the last Adam, true one, is alive in you. And live this reality. He's in residence, in full residence. You know, we've said it before. We do not have to try and resurrect the last Adam, the first Adam. That he's crucified, baptized into, dead, gone. So what does that look like? What does this look like in reality? It's becoming an equal partner. What Brian had taught on, a radiant one, a glorious and radiant bride that says, oh my gosh, I'm yoked with him. I'm equal with him. I'm leaning into him. Being yoked with him in intimacy and holy love. Entering into this holy realm with his presence and his blood and into transformation and into his likeness. Brian Simmons said another thing. He said this. The Lord said this to him. You change your thoughts and your minds and I'll change your heart. See, the Lord told us to take every thought captive. He told us to put on the helmet of salvation. He tells us to do this offensive and defensive warfare. He never said he'd take our thoughts captive. He said, you take your thoughts captive. Take every thought captive. So he said to Brian, you change your thoughts and minds, and I'll change your heart. And that's why David said, you search me, O Lord. Search me and see if you find any wicked way in me. Because he said that Jesus said, we deceive ourselves. With our hearts we'll deceive ourselves. We think we're in one place and we're not. And Jesus will show us lovingly and tenderly. And he went on to say that there's a place in God where our sacrifices won't seem like sacrifices anymore. Where we're truly on this Calvary road representing Jesus. And we're so in love with him. He's so in love with us. We're so one with him. We're so leaning, as the Lord was showing me, leaning into him that what he asks of us doesn't seem like sacrifices anymore. Like when you really love your child, or you love your husband, or you really love your friend, and you have to sacrifice, isn't it a joy? Not all the time, but you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's hard, but basically it's a joy. If you really love somebody, it's not an effort. I'll gladly drive the extra mile. I'll gladly make that meal. I'll gladly do that, whatever, because it's from love. Real love. Real love sacrifices. Soulish love doesn't. When it gets hot or inconvenient, it's gone. It's gone. Real love is there. And when we really sacrifice for somebody and we really love them, we don't remind them over and over again. Don't forget how much I sacrificed for you. Don't forget how much I sacrificed for you. Don't forget how much I sacrificed for you. That's soulish. On either end. You follow what I'm saying? It's soulish. It's not the love of God. When Mary anointed Jesus, she didn't ask to be remembered. She didn't say, hey, I just took my whole security, financial security for the rest of my life, the most costly thing I had, and I poured it out at your feet, and I want to be remembered forever. She didn't say a word. She just burst into a room, poured out everything she had, kissed his feet again and again and again. And who was it that said, for all time this will be remembered? Who was it that made sure when the Word of God was written, that was written in there? It was God himself. And why? Because he wanted extravagant devotion that honored God to be shown what it means to the King and the kingdom. It revealed heaven's view of her sacrificial. This is what he said to me. Extravagant devotion is honored by my Father. Why he had it put in there is because it revealed heaven's view of her sacrificial display of worship and devotion. Heaven viewed her sacrificial display of worship and devotion as something that heaven recorded was always to be remembered. The men that looked on called it foolishness and a waste. But heaven's view was very different. And so we need to have heaven's view even of each other. We don't always understand things, do you know what I'm saying? Heaven's view can be very different of a circumstance or a person in a circumstance. It's why it's so important we ask the Lord to continue to put the salve of heaven on our eyes, that we will see with heaven's view the circumstances of our life and the circumstances of each other. Because that views, the places we've sacrificed for him, very different. Sometimes we wonder, Lord, all these sacrifices we've made, is it worth it? Did heaven even see? Does heaven even care? And I tell you that it does. And as I'm sitting at the table, he says, okay, Donna, I want you to get out that book you haven't read for a while. And this is a book that I was in for quite a while. It's called Beyond Belief. I haven't read it for a couple of years. I sit at the table and the Lord will just go, boom, and I go, okay, which bookcase? Because since I've moved, I still haven't straightened up my bookcases. I used to have them all in this perfect order. Which bookcase, Lord, and where? And so, I'm going to read two stories, quickly. Andronicus was from a wealthy family in Cilicia. He was arrested as a Christian, along with two other Christians. And together they were cross-examined by the local governor, Numerian Maximus. Since the men remained steadfast in the faith, they were tortured and then placed gravely wounded in the arena. When the starving wild animals released to torment them took little interest in their prey, gladiators were dispatched to kill them with swords. What is remarkable about these three men is that the text of their interrogation still exists, thought to be taken from the actual Roman records. At one point during Andronicus' interrogation, the governor ordered that his wounds be rubbed with salt. But the torturer replied that the wounds had already closed, so salt could not be applied. When the governor expressed his amazement, Andronicus said simply this: "The physician, our Savior, is all-powerful. He restores those who worship the Lord and hope in him. He heals not by men's cunning, but by his word. Though he dwells in heaven, he is present everywhere. All praise to him." And then they killed him. But isn't it miraculous? Heaven's view. Heaven's view. Heaven says, I see you, I watch you. It's not wasted. Heaven's view. One more. After Simeon's death, a man named Sadoc became the new bishop of Seleucia. For fear of Shapur II, Sadoc and the members of his church went into hiding. During that time, Sadoc had a vision of his impending martyrdom, and his description of that vision is the first reading given below. The latter, the vision, proved prophetic. For Sadoc and 128 people from his church were eventually arrested by Shapur's soldiers, brought before the king. When Shapur asked Sadoc whether he would rather worship the Persian sun god or die, Sadduc replied, I shall not die. His full response is the second reading below. Sadduc and all 128 members of his church were executed, but this is what he said before they died. A ladder was set before me in my sleep, surrounded by light, stretching from earth to heaven. A friend, Simeon, was seated at the top in great glory, and when he saw me at the bottom, smiling, he said, Climb up, Sadduc, but do not fear, for I climbed up yesterday. It is your turn today. He meant that after his death last year, I am to follow him. I shall not die, but live and reign eternally with God and with Jesus Christ, his Son. So kill us as soon as you please, still we will not worship the Son. The S-U-N. I don't say that because that's depressing. See, that's not depressing to me. To God who says, every sacrifice matters. He sends angels, he sends visions, he sends dreams, he heals wounds. Think about this. It's amazing. Remember a few weeks ago, I think I shared about, what's his name in Africa, when they were getting ready to kill him with machetes, and he was translated. Found himself completely removed from the scene. Our friend from Africa. Who was this? Heidi's assistant. You know what I mean?
Surpresa.
Surpresa, thank you. Yeah. It's a journey to this place of mature love. That's what it is. That's what this whole passage is about. Song of Songs 8. The bride. Mature love. And it says here, place me now as a seal of fire over your heart forever. This living, consuming flame of fire will seal you to be mine as what? Lifeless. As a prisoner of love. Will seal you to be mine as a prisoner of love. When I read that, sitting at the table, it like leaped off the page, like I had never read it before. It's like in giant letters, seal you as a prisoner of love. Seal you to be mine as a prisoner of love. And in this prison, there's no place of man's rejections. In this prison, man's rejections and persecutions have no place to attach. It's like you are. Picture being put into a vat of oil, and nothing can attach itself to you. We're literally draped, we're literally saturated in his love. It's a prisoner of his love. And when man's persecutions and accusations and rejections come, they just slide off. We don't look to escape. We're not trying to escape this prison. We've been captured by it. See, the enemy will come and try to torment us. He'll come with misunderstandings. He'll come with rejections. And the enemy's looking. Logic. Get it in your heart. Find a place of entry. Look wherever you can. Get that lodged in there. But if we live within the eternal arms, the eternal embrace of divine possession, and we really come into this place of leaning into him, and we really come in living under the banner of his love, and we really come into this place that we are his equal. You see the journey? The journey? Then men's rejections just slide off. Men's accusations just slide off. Because we are completely surrounded in his song of love. We're a prisoner of his love. And it's like I saw this prison, and it was nobody like trying to shake the bars and let themselves get out. It was like, wow, this is awesome. But it wasn't bars anyways. It was his song of love that surrounded us. We were in this prison of songs of love. When Paul was in prison, remember, what did he do? He worshipped. And what happened? When he was imprisoned in house prison, what did he do? Did he sit there and go, oh, woe is me, where's God, shake my fist, this wasn't what I signed up for, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for this when I signed up for Judah's War. I didn't know there was going to be all this warfare and all this stuff. I didn't get it. I just thought we were going to worship. I didn't know it was going to be this and this and this and this. No, what did he do? He sent out handkerchiefs. And people were healed. He wrote the New Testament letters that we're still reading today that's transforming our lives. Because he was in a man's prison, but he wasn't in prison. He was in God's prison of love within a man's prison, but he was no man's prisoner. They thought he was in prison, but he was free because he was free in here. And he was fully loved and fully embraced and fully in God's glory in man's prison, and so much he just takes it because when people would touch him, you follow what I'm saying? He takes the handkerchief and he sends them out. And so it's not like, well, I'm in prison in this sticking job, or I'm in prison in this stupid whatever, you follow what I'm saying, or whatever. It's, we live, our goal is to live everywhere we are as a prisoner of love. So how about the Kleenex box on the edge of your desk, and somebody comes along and they're sick, but because you're so in the glory, they take a Kleenex. Can I have a Kleenex? Fine. They go back to their desk and they're healed. Why not? You see? Why not? I don't want to live at level 2, folks. I don't want to live with the chickens. We're eagles and we're butterflies. We're eagles and we're supposed to have a high place. We're dominion people with the kingdom of God and all of his love. Love ruled his heart. Jesus' prison of love overrode man's. Love ruled Paul's heart. He often wrote, how I long to be with you. How I long to be with you face to face. How I long to be with you. I couldn't wait for you to come today. I just wanted to get my arms around you. What's that? Is that my boasting on my love? That's God's love that he put in my heart for you and not just me. Her and her and her. You're loved. You're loved by the King of love in our hearts. And what he wants Judah's War to be is a safe place that when people come in, they're wrapped in his eternal arms of love and it's safe. And that they want to walk. That's why our banner is Galatians 2:20. It's to walk in that place of prisoners of love. So what prison do we live in? Do we live in the stronghold of the Lord's love? Or do we have some place that the enemy has got us captive? Got some rock tying us down so we can't fly and soar into the places. In all the different colors. It was a beautiful vision because each color represents a different character of God. A different nature. We're all supposed to, we all reflect different parts of him. He's made us all so different. You know? One carries maybe a little bit more of the tenderness, another a little bit more of the warrior, but we all carry all parts of him, but we have different places that a part of him is more, you follow what I'm saying? So, it says, goes on to say, my love for you will be stronger than the chains of death and the grave. My love for you will be consuming as the very flashes of fire. I love this. As the very flashes of fire from the burning heart of God. Place this fierce, unrelenting fire over your being until you are consumed. Rivers of persecution and pain will never extinguish this flame. Even floods will be unable to quench this raging fire burning within you. This is what he's saying to us. This is his invitation. It's not just to her, it's to us. So when the floods of the enemy come, then he unleashes, I'm almost done here, and he unleashes, this torrent of whatever. We're not like, ah! We're like the song. As a seal upon my heart, set your love, O Lord, for I am your bride. As a seal upon my heart, set your love, O Lord, sung prophetically some 15 years ago. I didn't have to write it down. God burned it into my heart, and he said, this is an eternal song. It's the eternal song of the eternal bride. It is the love, the storms and the waves and the floods of the enemy cannot put out. That's why we lean into him. His love breaks every yoke. It breaks every chain. I remember when you all saw my big strap in the sun here last week. And I remember, he used to be on the streets of Milham. He was addicted to cocaine, lived a pretty dark part of his life. Tom and I actually barely saw him for almost 7 years. And there were at least a couple of years that we didn't hear from him at all. It was really hard when you don't know if your son is dead or alive. And I didn't learn warfare from books. I learned warfare from the reality of life, and books helped. And I remember when he finally came home, he was home for a few weeks, and I heard a knock at my bedroom door. And he said, Mom, can I come in and be with you guys? I'm so afraid. I said, what's going on? He said, the devil's rattling chains in the hallway and telling me I'll never be free. I'll never be free. And I can hear him out the chains. I said, oh no, it's a lie. You'll be free. We prayed. Prayed until peace came. Thank God for the church that we were part of, and my family that loved him, and the family of God that loved him, and a pastor that worked with him. And he is who you see today, setting captives free. The enemy lies, and he likes to rattle the chains of our circumstances. It could be finances, it could be a health situation, it could be whatever it is, and says it's never, you're never. But that's the lie. The only prison we're to be in is the prison of love. Period. That's it. Everything will be consumed. It will stop at nothing as you yield everything to this furious fire until it won't even seem to you like a sacrifice anymore. Isn't that powerful? Everything, this is the ending of Song of Songs, will be consumed. It will stop at nothing as you yield everything to this furious fire until it won't even seem to you like a sacrifice anymore. Now that's not the fire of the enemy's destruction. That's the fire of God's love. Can you see it like a giant fire inferno coming and just consuming all those things you can't stand about yourself, the thoughts, all the things, and you just lay there and say, come and consume me? Take me as a prisoner of your love? So I'm sitting meditating on this, and he says, remember that other book, Donna? I mean, he was just like throwing all my books in front of me. And I know I read this. I like sort of resisted. He says, remember that book? And remember that? I said, well, where's that book? Because I haven't seen that book for like a couple of years. Where is that book? And remember that story? Okay. I'm going to find that story in the book. It's like 200 pages long. I'll go right to it. That's when you know it's God. And I know I've read this before, but it's got to be at least 2 years. So, I never get tired of reading this story, because this is a picture of what I just said. Once I traveled through the Himalayas, there was a great forest fire. Everyone was frantically trying to fight the fire, but I noticed a group of men standing and looking up into a tree that was about to go up in flames. When I asked them what they were looking at, they pointed up at a nest full of young birds. And above it, the mother bird was circling wildly in the air, calling out warnings to her young ones. There was nothing she or we could do, and soon the flames started climbing up the branches. As the nest caught fire, we were all amazed to see how the mother bird reacted. Instead of flying away from the flames, she flew down and settled on the nest nest, covering her little ones with her wings. The next moment, she and her nestlings were burned to ashes. None of us could believe our eyes. I turned to those standing by and said, "We have witnessed a truly marvelous thing. God created that bird with such love and devotion that she gave her life trying to protect her young. If her small heart was so full of love, how unfathomable must be the love of her Creator." That is the love that brought him down from heaven to become man. That is the love that made him suffer a painful death for our sake. And that is the love that takes us prisoners. That is the love he is calling us to walk in. A mature love. That is the love of a mother and a father. That is why an angel came and visited that upper room today when the prophetic declaration went forth of I'm raising up mothers and fathers who release mothers and fathers. Because what mothers and fathers do, they don't try to build a ministry or make themselves great. They lay down their life for the sake of the people around them, of the ones that come, and for the King. That's what he's doing in this hour. This is what he's looking for. This is the posture of heart. This is the sacrifice you'll lean into, where you're so taken over by love that it doesn't feel like a sacrifice anymore, because it isn't. Because his love, which is the sacrificial love, is pouring through your heart. And as you lean into him, your heart is no longer your own. You have his heart now. And nothing is too much to ask. This is when you will go anywhere, do anything. But you'll give up even your greatest dream for his. You see? Does it make sense? True, deep covenant love gladly lays down its life and its desire for his and for others. It ends with this. My brothers said to me, when I was young,